The developed world has taken to e-commerce like ducks to water, but now it's m-commerce or mobile commerce that's growing the fastest. Some suggest 3 times faster than other forms of online retail. Part of that growth is coming from developing nations, where often the mobile is the only connected device that people have. But there's an issue. People lack sophisticated payment systems like debit and credit cards. In fact, they might not even have a bank account.
What it means practically is that the airtime of the consumers on their phone is the only digital mean of payment that they have access to, which kind of enlarges the scope of service and goods that they go and consume via their mobile phone.
So that means there are hundreds of millions of people in Africa, Asia and elsewhere that could benefit from access to m-commerce, but it's not as simple as rolling out solutions from more developed nations.
It's a very simple ecosystem. Everybody on a mobile device is either using an iPhone and their OS is an iOS, or they're using an Android smartphone and that's it, that's their OS. Which means that as an app developer, as a service provider, you just need to have 2 versions of your product, an Android version and an iOS version. When you get into emerging markets, you start seeing a wide scope of devices and generation of devices. So you have to go all the way down to basic feature phone, all the way up to actual Android apps. And if you want to cover the entire population from some of the service, you need to have all of those delivery platforms enabled and allow users to move from one to the other, still keep their data, still allow them to log in across those platforms, and that entails some kind of complexity at the delivery level.
And that's not the only challenge facing app developers. Bandwidth and phone storage needs to be considered. Likewise, with most people only using pay-as-you-go, an app using lots of data is literally taking money away from users. But the very challenges in these markets provides the opportunity.
You can still have that kind of payment, let's say frictionless payment and easiness of billing in those markets. The thing is that the only gateway to get there are the mobile operators. They are the only one who are providing some kind of digital wallet to the consumers.
So the key for app developers is to work with mobile operators, accessing their payment and billing system, rather than just use their bandwidth. And there's a marketing use too when it comes to acquiring customers.
Again, in the West, you can very simply go to some of the big aggregators or some of the big platforms that have actually reach throughout most consumers. If you want, you can run on Facebook, you can run on Google Display Network, and that will give you a very large reach. When you go to a specific market, you will see that those networks have a very little reach. They touch a very small percentage of the population. The mobile operators are the one having a very, very high reach. Now, from one market to another, and even within a market, the kind of channels that they have available, the way to use those channels are very different. So you're gonna use things like USSD, you're gonna use things like SAT push, which are quite unknown terms in the West. Those are very specific mobile operator channels that are very, very efficient in those markets. In order to use them, you need to have the right integration with the mobile operators, and you need to know how to run and optimize them the way you would optimize any kind of digital marketing campaign in the West.
And there's a warning about what services will work where.
First of all, not all services that make sense of the West will necessarily make sense in emerging markets. The fact is that most consumers will prefer content that is localized to their taste and to their market. For example, we launched recently a micro-insurance service in Vietnam. What is this service? Is just with the ease of your phone, you can purchase a basic health coverage. And those are services that are not really relevant to the West, as you'd imagine. They're very relevant in those markets where people do not have access to the service, do not have way to pay for the service other than their mobile phone. Now, the challenge comes when you have to explain an insurance policy to someone over basic text messages. For example, people can call and they get pre-recorded message, they can navigate over the phone. It also has to do very often with literacy rate, so you need to cater for people who will not be very comfortable with reading all of that over phone. So a lot of our work in that case was about adjusting the service and the flows of subscribing to the service and registering to the specificities of the way it is delivered.
So what's Guy's advice to app developers?
Really think whether their services fit to those markets. What is the way to acquire consumer in those markets, and what is the right way to build those users in those markets. You cannot get into those markets thinking that the two most important things around your product, the one that is about acquiring customers and the one that is about monetizing them, is going to work as simply and as uniformly as you think and as it does for you right now. The very big thing we're trying to do, and we're working very hard on, is enabling those next 3 billion consumers, these 70 billion opportunities, making it possible, making it happen. And that can only be done when you work around the specificities of those markets, how this ecosystem is completely different versus what we're doing in the West, but still has tremendous opportunities. This is what we're really about.
Hello, I'm James Wright. Thanks for watching Marketing Media Money. To check out more online videos, just click on the boxes and don't forget to subscribe to the CNBC Live channel at the bottom of the screen.